Okay, so this is the carrier you guys will be using. Sorry, this is my test carrier. Um, it's got a little latch right there. You just push in and open. Okay, and these carriers are leak resistant. Okay, so that's something important. There's a seal here, and what's most important is to push that down and make sure that latch is pushed in, and make sure, for those of you who are training other people, that's really critical. Okay, so if you do that and don't leave the lid open, then if there's a spill, it'll most likely be contained. Okay, and the spills are really what cause problems in the system. So you can actually shut down a system, or you'll shut down the zone for probably hours, if not longer. It could be a day or two, just depending on how long it takes to get it all cleaned out. And that's just it's not a fun process. And your maintenance guys will appreciate not having to clean up a spill. So that's the most important thing. The other thing we recommend is double bagging samples. So if you have blood samples or urine samples, whatever you decide to send through the system, put it in one bag, Ziploc it, put it in another bag, Ziploc it. If there's a spill, then again, it'll be contained. Your carrier will hopefully contain it, and you'll never have to worry about a spill. That's what we recommend. Not everybody does that, and you do have spills to clean up. But if you can put that into your process, your chances of not ever having a spill to clean up are really pretty good. Okay, so that's what we recommend. Bag it, just put it in there.
You said samples. Do you, I'm just thinking IV bags and stuff. Do you?
IV bags,
Yes.
if you have, yeah.
Okay.
If you, now you can send an IV bag to it. We don't recommend it. I probably would be okay with the 500 milliliter, but 1,000 milliliter, I don't recommend it. It's hard on the carrier itself, because as it goes through, it bangs it around quite a bit because it's just so heavy. So you can, and if you want to, that's fine. You'll just have to replace the carpet on them more regularly, and you will get latches that'll break when it does that too. Not very often, but you will see it. So
How do you know when you do need more or replacing the carpet?
you'll see it. It'll start to look something like this. It'll just look worn. If you look at a new one, you'll see that the carrier looks kind of nice and round, and this is looking worn. And if you get carriers, actually, for the guys in maintenance, we'll be able to see if it's taking longer for the carrier to get to where it's supposed to go, and then that's when we'll know, okay, yeah. And that's usually after, depending on use, that's usually after a couple of years.
Okay.
So it's not something you have to worry about right up front. Again, make sure it's in there and make sure that's shut. A lot of times you can do this and it doesn't quite get shut, it gets to there. So if you can see that latch is sticking up, just give it a little tap, push it down, it'll be fine. Okay. Then set it in here, and it says hold ID badge up to the reader, and your reader is right here. So if I do this, then you get the destinations. In each destination, each zone, you have 3 zones. Each zone. Did you get that drawing of the stations and on each floor? Did you guys see that? I was thinking some of you had that. Yeah. So you have 3 zones. You have basically the second floor is its own zone. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th are their own zone, and first floor. So you have 3 zones. Each zone has a lab station on it. And that's critical, obviously, because everybody's going to be sent into the lab. Pharmacy has station on 2 zones. You have on 2 and 3. And I tried to get them to spring for a 3rd, to put it on the other zone so that you didn't have to, send between zones. It just makes it more efficient if you don't have to do that. Obviously, they didn't go for it, so I gave it a shot. But what's nice about that is being more efficient when you send to if I'm sending out medicine from here, I want to send it out in this particular zone. IP Pharmacy 1 is this station. If I'm sending it to phlebotomy or even the OP Pharmacy, peds, postpartum, then I want to send it from this station. If I want to send it to a zone 3 station, I send it from the other side, the station on the other side. So it just makes it more efficient. So if you can kind of maybe, a lot of hospitals will put just a directory there to say, okay, for this station, send to these stations. And then it doesn't matter sending to zone 1. It doesn't matter which station you use. So right now, once you do that, you scan your card, press that, then you have the options of secured or stat. Okay, stat just kind of puts you at the top of the line, especially during a busy time. Secured, obviously, if you're sending secured medicine, that's what you want to hit. Right now, these 2 stations are set up to send secured. If you want to, we can set up the OP pharmacy to send secured. And then those will be the only stations that will probably be enabled to send secured. Now, it's not based on your badge. It's actually based on the station being able to send secured. But it is based on your badge to be able to receive a secured carrier. So what will happen is, I'll send it secured. What's going to happen is going to take it, and as soon as it gets to a turnaround point, it'll send it back to us. And it'll sit, there's a gate right here, and it'll sit there until you scan your badge. And your badge has to be approved to receive. It doesn't matter what station you're at, but you have to be approved to receive controlled substances.
So is there a process to figure out who can receive those kinds of things, like our badges?
It's whoever you decide. And then we'll put that.
Badge system, or is that integrated with our?
It's integrated with your badges, but you will have to put those into the system. So, and I'll show you guys that later. So you actually have the option of putting in a 4-digit number or using your badge to scan. So right now, I'll just scan my badge, and it drops it. Okay. So that's pretty much the simple process of sending a carrier. It's really not that big a deal. We tried to make it as easy as possible. Again, you have that option of stat, secured, and then just normal. If it's nothing, and then something about stat is if you enable one of the, let's say, like NICU or something like that. Let's say you enable stat. Generally, what happens is every time they send a carrier, it doesn't matter if it's stat or not, they just hit stat. So you want to be real careful about, allowing that. So it's just human nature, just the way it goes. So, okay, so there's sending a carrier. Does anybody have any questions?
So in this pharmacy, are they guided which side would be better to go to?
Well, and that's what we'll talk about, putting a sheet up there, a little directory for you.
Okay.
To say this station, ideally send to these stations.
Yep.
And so on. And like I said, on the other zone, then it doesn't matter which one you
Right.
send to.
Okay.
From.
You had said that they're different colors, so there's a red, green, and blue zone.
For each zone, yeah.
And it shows up as a little bit of a color-coded thing as you're telling it where to send.
Yeah.
Okay.
In that sheet you have,
Yep.
Charlie, that's got, the way. And I would go ahead and just, if you want me to, I'm happy to, but I would go ahead and just distribute that to everybody. Maybe even put it up here just so everybody can kind of see where the stations are.
Yep.
Get an idea of the colors of the zones so that they know when they're looking at it.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
What's our other option on there? You have stat secured, and then there's just like a regular.
Just
delivery.
normal. Yeah.
And what is that labeled? I'm just curious.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
So put it in there. Yeah, it just is just okay. Little green button says okay.
Okay.
Yep. Or you can cancel it. It'll go back, and if that's not who you want to send it to, it'll go back and you can change your destination. So, and that's the simple part, right? So, like I said, we tried to make it easy. There are, as you can see, we have a little bit of a beach theme here. I thought kind of appropriate for the way things are going right now. So you can change that. There's a space theme, and then there's a mountain, kind of a frosty mountain theme that, I showed Charlie the other day. It was pretty, it looks as cold as it is outside. So I thought, no, they probably don't want to see that right now. So, you can do, and I'll talk to you guys later, but you can do some maintenance from the screen, and I'll show you guys that. Let me see. Now, you can see there's a screen here that gives you the last carriers that you sent. You can see the last 60 carriers. You can scroll through and see the last 60 carriers that you sent. And you can also see the last 60 carriers that you received. And all you have to do to get to that is double tap on the screen. Last carriers sent, last carriers received. And then station information basically just says this is how many stations or how many transactions the station has had. And let's see. Anytime it's gone overloaded, it records it, and then also if a carrier. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that for some reason the carrier does not get to the station, gets stuck, or it's got bad wear bands or something, and it just doesn't get there. The system automatically tries to send it back to you. So that way it thinks, okay, you can take care of, what it is, where it was supposed to go, you can take care of it if there's an issue. So it will tell you, and then also you can actually see here how many times you've had return carriers. It's just, so if you kind of see those add up, then you start to think, okay, we should do something about that. There's something going on. So, okay. Any questions about that?
You had said that if it's too many carriers in where your carrier
Yes.
is right now,
Mhm.
then it won't receive anything.
Correct.
And I'm assuming the spot underneath is for extra tubes.
This is for your tube storage. Yep.
And then if there's extra tubes that you have that you can't handle, there's a spot to send those.
Correct. So let me show you that. So you see that. Redistribute. So just hit that, and when the IDs are set up, each carrier will have its own ID, and so then we'll have each station will have, okay, these carriers with these IDs need to go back to the station. So that's how it'll handle it. So then you don't have to worry about, So ideally, especially here, you guys are going to want extra carriers because you're sending out all the time. Lab, you're going to just get these carriers out of here. You're going to be using that button all the time. So the system will automatically decide, okay, this is where that needs to go.
So there's a fail-safe. So say the receiver has how many tubes backed up. They don't scan and get their tubes out of there. You're saying
Right.
that
So
won't happen.
yeah. So what happens is the carrier will actually land. It'll kind of roll down front here. You'll get another one probably come in behind it, and then that third one will cause it to say, okay, this station is overloaded.
Attention, this tube station is overloaded. Please unload the carrier bin to resume normal operation.
Okay. So then that will say, and then you cannot receive carriers until it gets unloaded. And it'll actually say that if the station you're trying to send to, it'll tell you that station's overloaded, call them, tell them to take the carriers out. So,
So like
It'll be like close the dumbwaiter door, right?
yeah.
So pharmacy, do they do, retail, inpatient, we would be seeming probably to send often.
Right.
So are we gonna have to be constantly looking for tubes if they don't make it back to us? Or
Ideally-
how does that work?
Ideally, in the way the process, that I would recommend you guys set up is whenever you send out a carrier, and you could even designate, a lot of hospitals, they'll put a label right here,
Yeah.
and they'll say either OP pharmacy or, whatever the station, and then they'll say ideally, so that'll be a quick, way for them to decide, okay, where to send it back to if they want to send it back. But whenever you send out something, the process should be in place that when they receive it, they take everything out, they just put it right back in and send it right back to you.
Okay.
Okay. And like I said, the IDs will automatically be set up,
Yep.
but you could also put a label on there too if you wanted to. Don't put it in the middle. That'll get rubbed off as it goes through. It'll rub. But if you put it on either end, that should be fine. Don't put it on the blue, put it on the clear. Okay. So good question. I think.
from what you had said earlier, if you are out of tubes, you're not supposed to call somebody and have them walk tubes over to you because
Yes.
it keeps track of how many
Well-
tubes are at each station.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys have the IDs on yours cuts down on that issue. As long as everybody, tries to send things back, if you can get them to get into the habit of just say, okay, I either hit redistribute or I know where it came from, I can just hit, that station, then that's fine. If you can kind of keep them in the habit of that, then, but if they walk, in this case, with your system, it's not that big a deal because the system doesn't need to track how many carriers at each station. It's with the IDs, it knows, where to send them. So, okay. Any other questions?
So for like just the regular nursing staff
Yeah.
on the floors.
Yeah.
We're gonna receive a tube from pharmacy with meds, and when we take them out, we just put it back and just hit redistribute, and it'll go back to
It'll go back to
pharmacy.
where it's supposed to
We
go.
don't necessarily have to we probably have a button that says pharmacy or.
Right, but you don't have
Either
to.
way, it would get there. If I just push redistribute, it's gonna go back where it came from.
Correct.
And is that what we're gonna do, like, how now we have a bucket for meds to credit? Or don't, I don't know if it's an appropriate time to ask this question, because it might be, yeah, got it. Never mind.
Yeah, it's fine. Actually, I always think of this as a good time to do those things because this is when you think about it, and
Yeah.
otherwise you don't.
Just have a bucket,
Yeah.
oh, I don't need this med, and it's all gonna goes in the credit box to go back to pharmacy
Yeah.
for whatever they do with
Yeah.
it, so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not.
We actually
all this
get
to-
those from the clinic side, so I could see possibly us sending it that way too.
So where to
Clinics
call
don't
them?
have many stations.
They don't, but we do.
But they'll
get-
bring it, yeah, they'll bring it to her.
Yeah,
Question.
Yes, sir.
If
dumping grounds.
somebody's trying to send a canister and there's a question of whether or not it went or it's maybe not working, is there a local reset they can try before they call maintenance?
So it depends on what it is. If a carrier is actually in the system, then it's going to be called, you're going to get called. But if the carrier actually stays here and for some reason doesn't leave, then what it'll say is the carrier did not leave. Take it out, make sure, it's put in correctly for some reason and it doesn't. So that's kind of your default, try it again. But if it's actually already left the station and, it's not here, there's not much they can do about it. So you'll have to, the system will let you know that there's an issue and it didn't get to where it needed to go. So you'll be called.
We'll have you on speed dial.
Yeah, actually, I don't think you're gonna have. I've tested this whole thing and all the tube and everything's great. I'm really happy with the way things turned out. So I'm really hoping you don't have any issues, hardly at all.
Yeah.
So
Do we know yet who's gonna be in charge of like
Is it you guys?
figuring out like the badge side of it?
When you said it's on the badge system, is it,
It was
it's just capable of reading ours, or it's actually pulling Johnson controls? Like, we have
No.
a Johnson Controls.
there's a database on the main computer which is in the maintenance office.
And-
Well, and pharmacy will give you guys the names and you'll put them in from the computer in there.
But it's not the Johnson.
But it's not the Johnson Controls, no. I haven't integrated that, and I haven't talked to those guys. That might be something, we could talk about. But I haven't talked to Ron about that, so. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. So there's a special features menu. And there is an emergency shutdown. But to do that, you have to have the 4-digit PIN. Obviously we don't want anybody just to be able to come up and say, because if you do that, it shuts down the whole zone. And the zone's shut down for however long until you guys, maintenance gets called and
What would be some reasons?
so the reason for that is a spill.
Oh, okay.
So if you come in and you've got a spill and you can see it was not contained in the carrier, then that's when you want to do that. hopefully somebody in the department, will have that number to be able to just say, okay, put in that number, and then it'll actually say, okay, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? And it'll actually have you do it like 3 times just to make sure that it's not done really by accident. Because like I said, it just shuts down the whole zone, and then these guys have to get involved, and it just,
So I would suppose to get it back up and running, it probably would have to be that group
yes.
that overrides the shutdown.
Right, exactly. And the reason for that is obviously they got to clean it up.
Yes.
Somebody's got to clean it up. So yeah.
Okay.
But if you double bag it
Yep.
and make sure it's shut, your chances of that are really, really low.
Yep.
So
The other tube system I've worked with has some cushioning in there. I'm assuming.
yes, you can get foam inserts. I don't think we're defaulting them in there, but they're not. They don't cost much. So you can get inserts for like each end, and then you can get a pad that goes all around the middle. Most people don't do that just because they like to see what's in there, and plus if you've got the foam on each end. And if you bag it and put it in there, it has very little impact actually on the sample. So most people don't get the pad around it, just the 2 ends. So okay. There's a training video. It's very old. It's probably done like 25 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago. And I'm working on updating it, but for right now, it's what you have. So, and it's kind of cheesy too. I don't know why I even have it on there, but it is. So, I'd rather you guys show them. So let's see. There's a station diagnostics, and that'll let you actually turn on and off, like open a gate or move the carriage over, that sort of thing. But you got to be careful because if you're doing that and you get a carrier coming in, because it doesn't shut it down, then you get a carrier coming in. If you got that gate open, it's just come flying in. So you got to be careful with that. But other than that, you can work it. You can actually set the station offline. You have to have, again, the 4-pin code to do that, or the badge, either one, as long as it's approved. And then there's a maintenance-wise, there's a routine to configure the tags on the carriers, but you guys don't have to worry about that. So these guys will, and I'll show them that later. I think that's about it. Yeah. So.
Are you the same group that would have put outpatients drive-through system in?
We are. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so last time I was in there, there's no camera yet because.
Right.
So who will do that?
I will.
Okay.
And I'll get that done for you here.
It's on the list.
It's on the list.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, too, as far as operational, we would need to know how to run that.
Yeah. And that's real simple.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will set up a training for that.
Okay.
Yeah, for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.